Paul Rodgers stands as one of the finest rock singers ever, and that stature was no accident. His rise was shaped by a deep immersion in the greatest music ever created. These are the 7 albums that forged his voice and his spirit. Number 7 begins with Axis, Bold as Love.
To a rainbow like you, but I'm bold as love.
Paul Rodgers never forgot the night he first heard Jimi Hendrix playing through an open window. Outside a London pub is where he found himself, unable to afford entry, yet completely transfixed by the sound drifting out. That brief encounter stayed with him for the rest of his life. Hendrix represented everything at once: the guitar, the voice, and the fearless energy of someone who played as if the instrument were wired directly to his nerves. In 1967, Rodgers discovered Axis, Bold as Love by the Jimi Hendrix Experience.
I first became aware of the album Axis, Bold as Love by the Jimi Hendrix Experience in 1967.
That same year, the album revealed a different side of Hendrix than audiences had previously known. It carried moments of softness and emotion, showing a willingness to be vulnerable alongside the fire and chaos. Throughout his career, Rodgers openly and consistently acknowledged Hendrix's influence. He honored that legacy by recording tribute albums, performing Hendrix songs live, and even working with Band of Gypsies. This was never about obligation, but about repaying a debt he believed could never truly be settled. What Rodgers recognized in Axis, Bold as Love was the mark of a complete artist. It was someone whose mastery of technique had become so natural that only pure feeling remained. Little Wing alone offered enough depth to study for a lifetime. Castles Made of Sand proved Hendrix could craft lyrics as powerful as anything written at the time. Rodgers was a soul singer working within rock, while Hendrix was a blues guitarist who seemed capable of playing anything. Their connection went beyond genre entirely. It rested on conviction, on the belief that every note must carry meaning or it should not be played at all. Axis, Bold as Love ultimately captured Hendrix at his most complete, most human, and most beautiful. For Rodgers, it was untouchable from the very first listen and remained that way forever. Number 6 is Blues Breakers with Eric Clapton. Growing up in Middlesbrough in northern England, Paul Rodgers dreamed of music being made far from home. When the album arrived in 1966, it felt like a signal from another world. John Mayall had assembled something extraordinary. This was a band devoted entirely to the blues, performed with a seriousness and depth rarely heard in British rock at the time. At its center stood a 21-year-old Eric Clapton, playing with the authority of someone who had lived the blues his entire life. On that record, Clapton reached a level that forced other guitarists to rethink everything they believed they understood. Through this album, Rodgers realized that British musicians could approach American blues with honesty. Instead of imitating it superficially, they could fully inhabit it and return with something genuine. That realization became the mission Rodgers pursued with Free. He aimed for the same depth and dedication, refusing to compromise for commercial appeal. Blues Breakers became the benchmark he measured himself against early on, and it remained a standard long after he built his own legendary career. The organ playing from Mayall brought a warmth that resonated deeply with Rodgers as a soul singer. The rhythm section stayed tight and restrained, always serving the song rather than showing off. Clapton's guitar communicated everything necessary without excess. For a young musician learning what greatness demanded, the album was a masterclass in under 40 minutes. Rodgers absorbed every moment of it and carried those lessons into everything he created. Number 5 is Live at the Regal. Paul Rodgers pointed to B.B. King's Live at the Regal as one of the records that shaped him. That was not a casual reference, but a direct acknowledgement of a core influence on his voice. Recorded in Chicago in 1964, that record remains one of the greatest live blues recordings ever made. King stepped onto that stage and demonstrated exactly what the blues could be. He performed with the weight of someone who had lived every line he sang. The audience responded as if they were hearing the truth spoken aloud for the first time. Listening to that record, Rodgers grasped something essential about the bond between performer and audience. What B.B. King possessed was complete authority. He didn't rely on volume, spectacle, or theatrics to command attention. With Lucille in his hands, B.B. King stood firm and delivered every line with a conviction that made the rest of the room fade away.
Every day.
Throughout his entire career, Paul Rodgers pursued that exact quality. It was about having the power to fill silence with something so genuine that no listener could turn away. Every unforgettable performance Rodgers gave carried a trace of B.B. King's DNA within it.
And the blues and soul influences, and he suddenly found himself down in Memphis at the Royal Studios.
That same unwavering dedication defined his approach. It was a commitment to ensuring every note mattered and every word landed precisely where it belonged. Live at the Regal also revealed to Rodgers what true greatness looked like from within. It wasn't about appearing great, but about becoming it through years of grinding in small venues and enduring difficult roads before reaching larger stages. By the time that record was made, B.B. King had earned every bit of his reputation. You could hear it in every second of the performance. Coming from a working-class background in northern England, Rodgers recognized that same honesty in King's music. It reflected a truth about origins and the price paid to move forward. Number 4 is Born Under a Bad Sign.
I will have no luck at all.
When Paul Rodgers spoke about the records that shaped him, he singled out Albert King with clarity. Released in 1967, Born Under a Bad Sign struck British blues musicians with the force of a lightning bolt.
Albert King played left-handed on a right-handed guitar flipped upside down, creating bends that moved opposite to everyone else's. That technique produced a sound that was instantly recognizable and nearly impossible to replicate. His tone carried immense weight, while his phrasing delivered emotional impact through long, deliberate lines that built tension before releasing it. During this era, Free covered The Hunter, turning into one of their defining tracks. From Albert King, Rodgers learned that restraint itself could be powerful. There was no rush in King's playing, only space, patience, and control. He allowed notes to breathe fully. Silence became part of the performance, drawing listeners in as they waited for what would come next. That lesson shaped Rodgers' own vocal style. The pauses in a Paul Rodgers performance, the moments before a crucial note, came directly from studying how Albert King used time and silence as tools. The album also featured some of the most memorable titles in blues history. Tracks like Crosscut Saw and Oh Pretty Woman announced themselves boldly and delivered on every promise. Rodgers admired that directness deeply. He built his songwriting around the same idea of saying exactly what needed to be said, without ornament or apology. Albert King expressed it all through a guitar and voice that felt forged from the same piece of steel. For Paul Rodgers, this record remained untouchable from the moment he first heard it. Number 3 is the best of Muddy Waters.
I can see by the way you, baby, talk.
In an interview, Paul Rodgers made it clear that Muddy Waters was one of the few artists who truly inspired him. He didn't just mention the artist broadly, but pointed specifically to that compilation. That distinction mattered because it showed how those songs, in that exact form, reached him at a precise moment and stayed with him forever. Muddy Waters became the foundation of Rodgers' vocal identity. His sound carried the essence of electric Chicago blues, deep grooves and vocals that felt as though they rose from somewhere unshakable. In 1993, Rodgers released a tribute album to Muddy Waters that earned a Grammy nomination. That moment wasn't accidental. It was the public repayment of a lifelong musical debt. What Rodgers discovered in Muddy Waters was blues at its most direct and powerful. There was no excess and no unnecessary display, just raw truth delivered with total conviction. Songs like Hoochie Coochie Man, Manish Boy, and Rollin' Stone felt timeless, as if they had always existed and Waters had simply brought them into the world. Rodgers spent his career chasing that same inevitability. He wanted his songs to feel like they could only be performed one way, and that he was the one meant to deliver them. Muddy Waters also taught him that the voice was an instrument requiring discipline. Every rasp, growl, and subtle shift carried intention. Nothing was left to chance. Rodgers applied that philosophy in his work with Free and Bad Company, shaping his voice with care rather than simply unleashing it. The best of Muddy Waters became the record that first revealed what that level of control truly looked like. Number 2 is Crying Time. Paul Rodgers often spoke about his admiration for Crying Time by Ray Charles. He mentioned it with the tone of someone recalling a record that changed him before he could fully understand why. On that album, Charles operated beyond the boundaries that defined popular music at the time. He moved freely between soul, blues, and country, creating something that felt unified and completely his own.
A seamless blend of gospel, blues, country, soul, and pop came together as if no boundaries existed. All of it anchored by a voice so unique it felt almost otherworldly. As a teenager, Rodgers encountered this sound and instantly realized that genres were limits he refused to live by. What truly counted was the feeling at the core, not the label attached to it. He often called himself a soul singer working within rock and roll, and that identity began in this moment. Ray Charles approached every song with a force that made it feel less like performance and more like survival. There was a haunting, beautiful sadness in Crying Time, a song about loss delivered so gently that the pain became something to embrace rather than avoid. That same emotional depth found its way into Rodgers' own ballads over the years. Tracks like Feel Like Makin' Love and Seagull carried traces of Ray Charles within their tenderness. More importantly, Charles showed Rodgers how to be refined without losing warmth and expressive without slipping into excess, trusting the listener to meet him at the song's deepest emotional point. At its core, Crying Time stood as the work of an artist in complete control, both technically and emotionally. For Paul Rodgers, that level of artistry became the ultimate benchmark. Number 1. Otis Blue. Paul Rodgers didn't just say he admired Otis Redding, he openly admitted he copied him. That choice of word reveals everything about the depth of his admiration. Simon Kirke, who spent years playing drums alongside Rodgers in Free and Bad Company, often pointed out how much Rodgers drew from Otis Redding. Rodgers himself never disagreed with that assessment. When Otis Blue arrived in 1965, it revealed the full scale of what Otis Redding could do. Songs like I've Been Loving You Too Long, Respect, and a fiery take on Satisfaction filled the album with intensity that outshone even the original versions. Every performance burned with a level of passion most singers could only watch from a distance. From this record, Rodgers learned that a true rock and blues voice must carry real emotion at all times, not an imitation of it. Otis Redding sang as though music was his only outlet, as if silence would cause everything inside him to break apart. That idea became the foundation of Rodgers' entire vocal approach. Every standout moment with Free and Bad Company came from someone who understood that holding back simply wasn't an option. Beyond that, Otis Blue also captured some of the finest soul performances ever recorded. Backed by the Stax House Band, one of the most precise and dynamic rhythm sections in music history, Redding had everything around him working in perfect support. The horns, the groove, the sharp crack of the snare, all of it lifted a singer who was already operating at the highest level possible. For more than 5 decades, Paul Rodgers stood at the peak of his own musical mountain. The groundwork for that success was laid right here, shaped by a man from Macon, Georgia, who sang as if every note carried the weight of his life. 7 albums, 7 defining records that helped forge what many consider the greatest rock voice ever heard. Paul Rodgers studied the very best and ultimately rose to join them. Drawing from blues, soul, and raw emotional truth, he transformed those influences into something entirely his own. Stay tuned for more stories about the legends who built rock and roll into what it is today.